Happy Wednesday. It's Yogi Real Estate Reg here on another episode 39 of our Pearls of Peace podcast slash vlogcast, because really that's what this is. It's video as I come to you streaming live and also video blogging. So I wanted to share with you guys today is actually very auspicious and quite interesting because I realized when I woke up this morning that I was actually feeling today's Winning Wednesday, and I love Winning Wednesdays because it's a pivot, and it's an opportunity to pivot. Let me rephrase that. It's an opportunity to pivot, and I'm going to turn that down because I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Drop me a note. Let me know if that sounds a little bit better. Awesome. And if you're joining me in the replay, feel free to hit hashtag replay so that I know that you're watching after. And so we were talking about Winning Wednesdays, and why do I love Wednesdays? A couple reasons. Number one, I love Wednesdays because it's an opportunity to check in and really assess how the week is going. And most of us feel like Mondays are either we love Mondays because it's an opportunity to get started on a new week with purpose and I like to say with gumption. And then a lot of people don't like Mondays. And I'll tell you, I used to be one that didn't like Mondays until I understood the power of Mondays. And so now I do something called Mindset Mondays, where I teach and help support others in loving Mondays and starting with power and with purpose. And I found that Wednesdays can be a challenge for a lot of people. In fact, some people even call it Hump Day. And that can be taken a couple different ways because like a camel, right, we go through ups and downs, right? Sometimes we have ups and sometimes we have downs. And wouldn't you know that our weeks, our days can be the same. And so here on the Pearls of Peace podcast, my goal for you is that every week I bring you some tools and tips, and I call them pearls of peace that can not only bring you more peace internally and physically, but also just remind you of success and remind you that Wednesday is just an opportunity to pivot. So just like someone reminded me actually last night and again this morning, the power of Wednesdays is that we get to check in and we get to see what's working and what's not working. And last night, being very authentic and vulnerable here, I did find myself focused on what wasn't working. And I'm working on something I'm really excited and proud of, but there's plenty of things about it that are not going, my mind could say, as I want them to, right? And for a moment, maybe more than a moment, more like a couple hours, I was actually pretty frustrated because I felt like I'm doing all this work and I'm pushing and I'm trying to get it out and I'm trying to do all these things. And there's these little glitches that are like nuances that are just like frustrating me. Has anyone ever felt that way? Right? And so what did I do yesterday? I did what I share with you to do, which is sometimes you need to just turn it off. And you just need to take a break and meditate or take a walk or read a book or take a shower or smell a rose or whatever it is that brings you a sense of calm, peace, and serenity. And so I want to share with you that this morning I woke up and I felt renewed, I felt refreshed, and I felt like because I was able and willing to give myself that opportunity to rest my stress, as I like to say, I was able to reset my stress, right? And I woke up more energized, I woke up more aware, I felt like, oh, I can maneuver through this. And don't you know that a couple of my answers, my prayers were answered. All of those little things that I was frustrated about actually are starting to work themselves out. And so the beauty of this lesson today is that we don't always have to get on a yoga mat in order to practice mindfulness. In fact, in talking with people lately, I found that a lot of people have this notion that yogis are people that sit in positions like this all day long and they meditate with their hands in the Dhyana Mudra posture and they sit with their eyes closed all day long. And the truth is yes, we do some of that, and hopefully you're learning how to do some of that, but that's really not the power that you have available inside you. In fact, the power that you have available inside you comes from knowing you can have that space and that peace in yourself, even without sitting in cross-legged position. Let me give you an example. You're sitting in traffic and someone upsets you, right? What tools, what resources, what actions can you take in that moment when you're sitting in traffic, you're in your car, and someone cuts you off, right? Well, there's plenty. You can start breathing. You can do some of the tips that I shared in my recent webinar, which, by the way, I'll be doing another one this Friday. So, little plug there. Come join me on Friday to learn some really simple, basic tools that can help activate your peace in any and all situations. And the best thing about this is that these are tools that are timeless. These are tools that you don't have to be of a certain age or race or religion or anything like that. They're not based on any of that, and anybody can use them, including children. In fact, some of these principles I've actually tested with kids to see if they work. And I'll tell you firsthand, I didn't believe it. I didn't think that kids could really catch on to these tools. But I remember one day sitting in class, I was teaching a group of Montessori school children. And some of you may have heard this story. This was in Montana a couple years ago, and these kids were about, the smallest was 2, and the oldest was about 5. And I loved this class. This was actually, the school is still there. It's a really, well, I don't know about now, but super sweet school, Montessori school in Montana, Bozeman, Montana. And I remember I was sitting and I was really, was having a little bit of a tough morning with the kids because there was about 12 of them and they were all really, really chatty. And I think it was a Wednesday, 10 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and they were super chatty and I couldn't seem to get them to cooperate with me. And what did I do? I just shut up. I shut up and I stopped arguing with myself to try to get them to be quiet. And I just sat quietly. And one of the girls was so beautiful. She was 5 years older, is probably 7 now, but she was about 5 then. And she looked at me and she looked around and she did one of the things that I teach about mindfulness, which was she brought her hands together and she quieted herself. She did close her eyes and she stayed quiet and she went inside. And then she looked around with one eye open and looked around at all the other kids to see if they were following her. And don't you know that one by one, each of those other kids started modeling her. And so what did that teach me as the teacher? It taught me that mindfulness is a practice that we get to integrate into our lives in any and all situations. We don't have to be sitting on a yoga mat in order to practice mindfulness. We could be sitting in a classroom with other people where it's noisy and activate that same sense of peace. In fact, by being the peace and finding that peace within ourselves, reclaiming that peace within ourselves, we can be an example for other people, just like that little sweet girl was. Now, what I also learned was the power of being a leader. And in that moment, that sweet little girl was a leader to me. Because in that moment, when I softened and I needed to step back and honor myself, just like I did yesterday, and just like you might need to today, or maybe you needed to last week, we get to come back and we get to reset. And sometimes that means taking a mental health day, or a mental health afternoon, or a mental health 20 minutes, whatever that is for you. Taking time out to shut out the noise and go in and really addressing within ourselves, what is it that might be disturbing our peace, so that we can honor it and release it. Honor it and release it. And so today, my friends, I want to remind you on this beautiful rainy Wednesday here in South Florida, that even in the midst of a storm and rain, there is sunshine. And sometimes the rain is just an opportunity to cleanse that which needs to be cleared. So I wish you a beautiful, wonderful Wednesday. I look forward to hearing your wins. And from my heart to yours, I look forward to supporting you and helping you change the way the world and we experience from the inside out. And I'll see you guys on Friday for another episode of the Pearls of Peace podcast. Thanks so much. Bye.